Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm joined today with a very special guest called Laurie. How are you? Is that how you
I'm
pronounce your
good.
name?
Anyway is good, but Lori is usually what I say. So,
Wonderful. So I was like very grateful that you've joined because I had someone else earlier and they didn't show up. Maybe the time difference, but it's nighttime where you are in the US and it's early morning here in Bali and it's sunny today because it's sometimes it's like a bit of rainy season. So we spoke a while back and you were so lovely that you wrote a whole like document with all your journey and what you've gone through. And then I was like, it's too good. I need to get you in to actually talk about it.
yes.
So before we start, do you want to give a little bit of just background of who you are? Because for me, I'm trying not to be judgmental, but I see you as someone who was quite like maybe, I don't know, correct us if I'm wrong, quite a logical person. And then all of a sudden this curveball came in and you're like, what the hell is that?
But yeah, so I was always like, I knew we were in a matrix when I was 5 years old. So I have always been super spiritual and super intuitive. I've always had claircognizance. I, like you, have always been able to determine the sex of a baby, even if they've only been pregnant for a couple weeks. I'm like, oh, that's a girl. Like I've always had that my whole life. I've always had moments of premonition of things happening. Um, I've had prophetic dreams. So, but my journey and this twin flame journey in particular has pointed out my ability to walk away from spirituality. And I've done that several times. So I was super spiritual as a child, and then I actually got into recovery for alcoholism and addiction when I was 17, which is very, very young. And I very much struggled with spirituality because that was a big part of my recovery. But I struggled with acceptance and faith and, because I am a very logical person. Like I'm very much, I've always been intellectual and academic. And, I've always relied on my brain to get me through this 3D world. And, so I've always had these kind of starts and stops from a spiritual perspective. And then when I married my now ex-husband, that was like a 22, 25 year period of time where I wasn't spiritual. I just kind of had walked away from it. So 2 weeks after, I'll just jump right in. two
No,
weeks
but
after,
I want to quickly ask you that. It's so interesting because I had something similar where I was very spiritual as a kid, but then as I got older, like I kind of lost touch with it.
Mhm.
But it was very dark times when that happened. I went through darkness without that connection. So it's very interesting that you also went on a path where you kind of like distance yourself from it a little bit, you know?
I did. And I've tried to fight this journey, and that's when my dark night of the souls kicked in, is when I started to deny that I had a twin or got into denial about it. Yeah.
So you were going to
So,
kick off the story. Let's hear it.
okay. So, I've been married for 22 years, and I didn't realize this until a couple years later when I started to understand that I was a twin. I started dreaming about my twin before I met him. I would wake up, but this is before I left my marriage. I would wake up at 222 or 333 in the morning. I had no idea what angel numbers were. I was not really on social media for a very, very long time. So yeah, I kind of started to get the signs before I left my husband, and I had this amazing dream where I was cuddling with this person that I was absolutely totally in love with. It was like this perfect fit, this perfect match. And I just remember waking up for that dream and being like, okay, like now's the time for me to leave my marriage. Um, so I met my twin in December of 2021, and he was the literal first date that I went on after I left my husband. I'm just going to be frank about it. I was really just looking for sex. I was in this very wild phase where I was uh, maybe reliving my earlier youth. I was 50
Yeah.
years old, and I was just wanted to have fun.
Yeah,
And
letting it loose all the years of being in marriage, you want to just have fun now. You don't want to get committed again and you don't want to be in anything serious. And then you get smack bang by your twin flame.
so when I first met him, I had actually realized later that I had actually met him 10 years prior to that. He actually was a waiter at my table. And that was when I think I had my first recognition of him, because I was like, there is something amazing about this person.
Wow.
And I actually said to my friend, I was married, I was more overweight, but I said to my friend, I'm like, I like him. And he was literally like, I'd never said that about anybody that ever had waited on my table. Um, yeah, so we go on this date, and I he was different than any person that I had ever seen in my life. But the first thing I said was like, I'm gonna have sex with him. That was like the first thing that popped into my head. Yeah, so we went on the first time we actually had an official date. We made out in the parking lot. And when I say like made out, like it was like we could not get enough of each other. You know, some people say that they had electricity or whatever when they first kissed. I didn't have that because I wasn't really, my chakras were blocked, my energy was blocked. I didn't kind of have
We're
that,
in
but
a
I did.
different headspace, yeah.
Yeah. But I knew by the second time we had gotten together, and we had sex like the third night we knew each other. But it was like we matched perfectly. Like everything about us, every part of our body. I knew things that he wanted that he didn't know he wanted. I know I've heard you talk about that. Like you just know. And I felt and I told him that the first night that I'm like, I've known you before. I've known you for lifetimes. And I knew right away he felt like home. And yeah, it was electric. And everything after that, we had sex off and on for a year, but multiple separations, like right away. Like after 3 months, I ran, then he ran, then I ran. So
What was
it
causing the separations?
one was my obsession. So I knew that he was somebody completely unique and different than I'd ever met in my entire life. It was about 2 months in, I realized like I'm obsessing about this person, and it is it. I know obsession because I was obsessed to alcohol. I'm an addict. Like I just have an addict brain, and it felt really unhealthy to me. I'm like this. I'd been in recovery at this point for 30 years, and I knew what that was like, and it felt very uncomfortable to me. And it was the first night that I acknowledged in my mind that I was in love with him was literally the first night that he like walked away from me without saying goodbye or something. It was like literally like our energies like switched that fast. Like he started to pull away emotionally as soon as I acknowledged that I was in love with him. And I was actually the one that actually started our first separation um, after 3 months because it was so fucking intense. It was like it was overwhelming me in every way. And
Did
yeah,
it feel like, for me, it felt like atomic or cataclysmic, or the energy was just so much to sustain? Did it feel like that? Like it felt too much?
yes, it was like when we were together, like time stopped. Like it just stopped. There was nothing else that even mattered, like anywhere in the entire cosmos. And I actually had said to him jokingly, it's actually a line in the big book, I feel like I've rocketed into the fourth dimension. But little did I know, because I wasn't like, yeah, I had read spiritual books when I was younger, but I was not like well versed in now that I've read like a
But it's
million books about
different, isn't it?
spirituality.
Reading it and it's experiencing it.
Yeah.
It is nuclear. It is actually inside. It's like the cosmos is in you and in them. And you're experiencing. I felt like I understood the meaning of life. I don't know,
Yeah.
like I just understood everything. Like, oh, that's what it means. Like it's a lot. It's a lot for a human being.
It's like the amount of peace that I felt I had never felt that before ever in my life. Complete and utter like safety. Um,
Safety. Yes.
so like yeah, just everything cleared out. And I had, sexual abuse growing up as a child, and I felt like all of that was healing through him.
Yes.
But then he would say things and they would trigger me. He said like, well, I don't feel this spark. Well, that was like the worst thing that could possibly ever happen to me was to meet somebody that I considered to be my perfect companion and to be like, yeah, I don't feel it. But I
And you
think
feel
those
so
things are kind of
safe with them.
scripted.
You feel so
What's that?
safe with them. You feel so safe and innocent, and you feel like you can finally let go if you've gone through things in your life. You can like trust this person, and then they will say the most horrible things or do run away. And then you're like, what? You're the only person that ever would allow fully in. And then you've kind of exited. Like, why would you do that? But you said they're scripted. You said, what were you saying?
Oh, I believe that part of the agreements that we have,
Yes.
like twin flames is we tell them or we have a conversation before we incarnate. Like, okay, if you say this specific thing, like it's gonna trigger me. And, I do believe that there's been certain things that I've said to him and he's said to me that I believe it's scripted. Like, I believe that that's part of this journey
It's
and it's
definitely
how we
something.
respond to it.
So I'm just feeling like maybe it's the Holy Ghost or Spirit working with higher self, and they will say the most horrible things, or you will, and it's made perfectly to trigger that wound or something, isn't it? Something.
Absolutely. It is. It's because twins trigger each other with, I call it like scalpel precision. If that makes sense. It's
Yeah,
not,
like the
it's not
precision.
like, oh, I'm just triggered because you're a jerk. It's like they literally reach in and like pinpoint your deepest, darkest thing that needs to be healed. And it's precise, very precise.
Oh God. Okay. So let's continue with the questions. So we realized when you met him 10 years prior, and then you went on a date. But what were the signs or confirmations that this is a twin flame? Because you mentioned that it felt like this was someone different, someone special, but you talked about feeling innocent, feeling safe. What were the other like signs or things that confirmed that is a twin flame?
Home. Like I remember thinking like he feels like home. I remember feeling like I'd met him for lifetimes. Um, I also had said like after our first separation or maybe our second separation, I was like, if we don't work out now, we're going to work out in 10 years. Like I've always known that. And it was a very specific, like we're going to be together someday, even if we're not together now. Yeah. Like it was very
And
special, but I had
then, like, then
never,
we should chill, right? But we don't chill. We should be like, yeah,
oh,
it's gonna work out, but so chill, whatever. But we don't chill.
not. We do not. We do the opposite. We just start to want to control and manage, and our ego gets in the way. And all our abandonment and our worst fears, and it all just comes right. So I had never heard the term twin flames. And I had known him for a year, and I actually did not find out the word twin flame until we stopped having sex after a year. And I had finally set up a boundary and said, you're breadcrumbing me, you're putting me last. He was having sex with multiple people. I was having sex with multiple people. But I didn't, it's literally like the universe was like, okay, you need to stop this awesome sex thing that you have going on to start the actual healing journey. So as soon as I did that, I was led to actually, TikTok, which I was like, one day I woke up and I was like, I need to be on TikTok. And I was like, why? And like the first stuff that started to pop up was spiritual things and twin flames and a crap ton of tarot stuff, which I had never been into.
Yeah.
I did that too. I did the whole like tarot. I was watching those tarot readings for like a couple months, and I was like, "This is just ridiculous." Like, why am I? Because I couldn't. And then I just skyrocketed into the whole twin flame thing, and I just could not consume enough information about it. I literally followed like every twin flame person
There's a
on.
lot of conflicting information as well out there, and there's people who, which is leads to the next question actually. Like, there's a lot of interplay between people making twin flames into soulmates or getting confused with karmic. So, how do you differentiate with that? Because you did all that research as well. So, how does twin flames differ from all those other types of connections?
So twin flames, this something that I've been thinking about this week is that like twin flames are like the PhD level. Like they are like beyond graduate. Like you are like your soul has set this up for this experience that will literally kind of decimate, flatten you, put you through your ego death. Um, so I define twin flames as I haven't when I do meditations, I usually see our energies in the spiritual realm as two separate energies, which I find interesting. Some people say that you're one soul and you incarnate in
Depends
a
if you're
body.
monadic or split soul, but yeah, it's okay.
I,
Yeah.
I, but yeah, so I do believe that you are literally like meeting your own energy. It is you incarnated into another body with another experience. And we do this all the time. Like he and I will literally mirror each physically. When we're in each other's presence, we will literally like we'll put our hand on our chin or our face, or we sit the same. We physically like mirror each other, not just in
It's
the
very
triggers.
trippy though, isn't it? Because you don't only physically mirror them, you also like the way you communicate or the words that come out your mouth. Like for me, my twin, he'll say my words, but in a logical way. And I'm like, what? Like it's me talking to me. It's so weird.
It is weird. So soulmates are fun. They're nice. They usually are like, and I've had a couple soulmates that have been brought in during my journey to help me during this time period. And I've loved them tremendously, but they've always, their soulmates are just different. So many people apply the twin flame label to a soulmate. And I'm like, what? Really? I mean, they don't know because they don't know, but I'm like, don't do that.
The
Because
old soulmates trigger you as well, but like you said, twin flames, it's laser precision. Or you said another word. It's yeah, it's very precise the way they do it. It's harrowing though, isn't it? With a soulmate, you can still continue with your day, but your twin flame will have you on the floor, completely. But there's
I
also
cried for a year. At least I cried almost every day for a year. And the ego deaths or the dark night of the souls, where you literally like cannot move, you cannot function, you cannot eat, you don't want to watch, you don't want any external, interference like TV or no distractions. You just literally your whole world stops and you literally break down. And my dark night of the souls were usually lasted like a week or two, and there's nothing else like it. um
because you've been weaving with your twin. Has he talked about what he's gone through?
so he lets out quite he slips up often. Like we were talking about synchronicities the other day, and he notices the synchronicities. He notices the telepathy on some level. Like I've said things, and I can see him kind of shake his head. Um, he knows that he said, well, we can't date because we have a spiritual connection. Like he knows that there's something completely different about me. But I also triggered like his darkest, deepest secrets, the sexual interactions that we've had. Like he said to me, like, you're not like any other woman. You're like my perfect match. We have amazing chemistry. He says, I love you, but um, yeah, so he knows that I'm different, but he can't quite manage me.
So is he quite logical or is he spiritually awake to and open to?
He attempts to be spirit. He's a lot, I mean, we are one and the same, honestly. He's a lot like me. Like we want to be very spiritual. We want to be very open. We want to have faith, but we question everything. And he goes through the same type of struggles as I do. So, but he does talk about synchronicities. He talks about prayer. He talks about, all those other things.
And then
So
you talked about your sexual chemistry. So twin flame sex is different to sex with soulmates or other, yeah, just humans. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because people get so confused about whether they are a twin or not. So how is the intimacy different with a twin?
it's like they're the other piece of your puzzle, and or the last piece of your puzzle. It's even though we were not, I can't just quite describe this because we had concluded, I had said early on, I had established this, which is probably what triggered him to begin with, was, I don't want a commitment. I'm just got out of a 22-year marriage. Like I'm sure that triggered him. Um, so here I was like, and we are, how do I say this? We're not like vanilla people, I guess is maybe the best way to put
Yeah,
it.
twin flames explore every fetish,
Every,
fantasy, and
every,
every template because you have to purge it, you have to heal it, you have to burn it off. So you will be doing everything. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we had the most, there were so many firsts, I think, with us too. But like you said, it was not, it was
Because
there.
you feel safe as well to do it.
Yeah, yes, I mean, he felt safe with me, like he felt safe enough to ask for what he wanted, which I'm sure he's never done with any other woman. Like there's nothing like twin flame sex. There's just not. And I've had, I'm not like only had sex with one person in my life.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, so let's continue. You talk about the signs of synchronicities. I don't know if you want to talk to anything else. You mentioned, what about dreams or higher self visitations, or you talked about telepathy as well. Like during separation, I feel like that these increase more. 5D communication. Is there any other sort of weird things, prophetic things that you want to
Well,
like talk about?
the synchronicities are not they're it's not numbers for me. Numbers are fine. It is weird things. Like one of the examples I wrote about was that he renovated my kitchen and I finally decorated it. And I have there's a set of three Chinese little vases. And I had lived in Guam when I was little, and my grandmother came to visit me and she acquired these. And I didn't ask my mom after my grandmother died she just sent them to me. So they're in my kitchen. And he walks in and he goes, "Oh, my mom has those from when we lived in China." Now, these are things that are like 50 years in the making. You know what I mean? Like these are things that are, and stuff like that happen. And I'm not just saying like once a month, or I'm not saying like every couple months. These are things that we would discuss things and we would be like, that is so weird. Like his ex-wife had gone to the treatment center that I did within 6 months of each other. It just kept, he's like, you are so weird. Like everything that, and we just keep like finding out more things. We also have telepathy. He definitively 100%. I don't, it's more like what, because I've been friends with him for 4 years. We know each other very well. So we don't really have a whole lot of like 5D because our relationship very much
It's
has
more
been
physical. Yeah.
3D. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very much like we spend time with each other. Um, you know, so I get confirmation directly from him. There was one time where a bush needed to be chopped down in my front yard, and I got this urge to like take this bush out. And he came back because he was renovating my house and he said, "I was just thinking about how annoying that tree was." I said, "I can't believe that you like started to take that tree down because I literally got in my car and thought I wish that was gone." Um, we said something, because somebody said something the other night, this was just last week, about, a tattoo, like an 8 ball tattoo, which you would think like a pool ball, but he and I both were like 8 ball of cocaine. You know what I mean? Like that's a crappy example, but we he would be looking up the weather and I would ask him what the weather was and he'd be like, "What?" Or it constant telepathy.
I find like
Um,
with twin flames, you tend to like have almost like parallel lives in some shape, form, or the other, or some like from childhood, like you said with the vases and with whatever else. Like there seems to be so many moments when you're like, oh, that happened to me too, or that happened to someone I know, and it's almost like you're living lives parallel but are often opposite as well, or something like that, right?
Right. I mean, I lived on Guam for 2 years. My dad, was when I was little, he spent a lot of time in Asia and a lot of time in China growing up. So we had a lot of experience living in kind of very, different cultures. We have a lot of Asian stuff in our houses. Yeah, we have so many. First I got sober at 17. First got sober at 17. It's like one thing after another that we can see throughout our lives that, we weave together. I mean, I kind of always knew that I had another half of my soul out there, or half, whatever, however you want to describe it. He also talks about the same thing. He talks about, like he's always known that there's been somebody out there for him. He
You
just
feel it, don't you? Like I remember walking the streets when I was younger, and I was like, I wonder what he's doing right now, because I could feel that, and I feel like even before you meet, you're sharing stuff constantly, like energetically, and connecting anyway.
I've looked back through my whole life and like I'm super sensitive to sugar. He's diabetic. I'm like, I wonder if the times that I've like crashed out on sugar or something happened, like that was probably him, because now that we've know each other physically in the 3D, I pick up on his energy. I pick up on his emotions. One time he had a toothache, I had a toothache. My elbow hurt, his elbow hurt. Tonight I have I had to get something removed. I have stitches, and like he was touching that part of his body. Like we are so energetically connected. It's astounding. Like
Do
you're
you also
literally
have like the same, like if you want pizza, he wants pizza, or if you want to do this, he wants to do this. It makes it easy for not having arguments in some respects, but you know. And then
it's strange.
you mentioned that you're friends right now. So people say, oh, you can't be friends with them. How is that working out?
Well, I mean, I would say not great. I mean, we're friendly. There was a long period of time where we were friends. We'd go on trips together. As you know, he got a girlfriend about a year and a half ago. I always said that she's not a karmic, she's a soulmate. She's here to teach him something. I respect her. I think she's an absolutely beautiful, amazing woman, and she's teaching him something. I would have been triggered 2 years ago when I still hadn't quite accepted that I was a twin flame. I was still battling with that idea, which kept pushing me into dark night. I had went through like three until I finally accepted, yes, he's my twin flame, because I just doubted, because that's just the nature of
Yeah.
what I think I'm here to get through in this lifetime. But it didn't trigger me when he first started dating her. So yes, we've been friends up until last year. Then it's kind of a long story, but I triggered him, he triggered me. We went into this 6 month no contact. Like we would walk by each other but not acknowledge each other. And he's like, "Well, I'm never going to talk to you again." And he's like, I'm leaving your life, because, you keep." I did say a few times, I was like, he's like, "Are you still delusional that we'll be together someday?" And I didn't even hesitate. I was like, "Yes." And he's like, "I had never given you any indication since we were physical that, I was interested in you." I'm like, "Oh, I'm fully aware of that." So, you
What's his
know,
blocker? Why is he resistant to committing?
because I think that one is because we started out not really committing to each other in a committed relationship. I think that triggered him. And then I did get honest with him that first major separation that we had, that I was obsessed. And I was like, I really felt like I was mentally ill. And I think he's like, "She's crazy," which I did. I was. I mean, I had all that stuff to
We
heal.
all, yeah, we all are. It's intense for them, isn't it? And they don't want anyone who's kind of like codependent or latching onto them, controlling them, telling them what to do, not what to do, and jealous and yeah, all those kind of things.
And I think the chasing energy, I mean, I know how much energy I was putting towards him. And I think the chasing energy literally pushes them so far away that they can't even handle it at all. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them. I would fucking run for me too. Oh, sorry, sorry.
So you, no, no, it's all good. So you talk. Let's talk about your wounds and how you heal them because I want to find out whether you're now out of that chasing energy. So it brings up I don't know if it's like lifetimes of wounds. I think it is, and then ancestral and karmic and all sorts. Is you don't know what's going on. You can't. It's like you can't even stand up straight for a second without all these things being triggered. So what wounds came up for you, and how did you heal them? What did you do?
So, yeah, I really thought that I loved myself, and I did. I did. I loved myself before I met my twin. But one was abandonment. My father wound. He played out my father wound absolutely 100% to a T. So being present, but emotionally distant, putting me last on the list of priorities. That was a big one. Like he'd always be like, "Well, like I have these two other women that I'm going to be with, so you're going to be number three." Not committing. So I was like, "Hey, can we just like?" He had another girlfriend that he was like, he sees every Tuesday. I'm like, "Hey, can we have every Sunday?" And he's like, "No." So it was like the father wound was triggered absolutely without question. I think the whole spiritual thing of like I've met my exact perfect match, and he was like, I'm okay. Um, yeah. So what I did was, and I've done this, with everything in my life is really focused on. I journaled a lot. Um, I pray every day. I started practicing meditation to a significantly greater extent than I ever had. Um, I started to learn about spirituality. I started reading voraciously some of the authors, and I really focused on um, understanding what was. I had such tremendous clarity this entire time. Some people are confused about their wounds or how to heal them, and I was like, "Oh, I know exactly what to do." And I spent a lot of time focusing on that.
And a
Um,
lot of people blame the DM. They don't accept that they're mirroring something within them and acknowledge, I've got that inside. So the fact that you did, that's wonderful. But a lot of people, they can't even accept it, first of all, let alone start healing it. They're so in denial.
yeah. Man, I think it does definitively slow down union. I think that, and I'm not saying that, I've done this perfectly, but by any stretch of any imagination. But there's so much to clear out, and I really do believe that we have ancestral karma that we're clearing out.
Mm.
Definitively believe that. Like I cleared out things with my mom from past lives that I didn't even realize until I got onto this journey. But I do think that there's a lot of twin flames are really here on Earth energetically to really, like we said, move us into new Earth and move us all into 5D. He rocketed me into my mission as well. Like we help people who are newly in recovery. He and I have been sober a long period of time, and we were very locked in our mission, and we together, to the two of us together, between him and me, like we do really help a lot of people. So it was obvious. Some people are like, "Well, what's my mission?" I was like, "Oh, I already know what it is." Um, you know, yeah. So
People
yeah, a
get
lot of
very
healing,
confused
a lot of
about mission. They're like, oh, I need to go on social media and do about twin flames. No, the thing is, you might not be that good at it, which is fine. Only do what you're good at, what you're an expert at. If you're good at talking and you're good with the camera and editing, or saying you're good with concepts and spiritual jargon, do it. But if not, do other things. There's so many things you can do. Animal shelter work, you can do go, help kids. You can paint, you can draw, you can do so many things that actually uplift people. And I love the fact that you tapped into the stuff that you're saying that you're doing. Because, and I do feel like twin flames do heal their families as well, like physically, not just clearing the ancestral. Like, I don't know how your family has, but my parents have completely transformed as well. Like, I can't believe it. Um, so as a result of all this work you've done, do you feel like your chasing energy has now gone or calmed down quite a lot?
so calm down. I'm still not, I mean, I think if we were truly in separation and I did not see him, that I would be able to, I still think about him more than I would like to, but I stopped fighting it. There was such a period of time I was like, I can't think about him anymore. This is ridiculous. I'm just like, okay, so I think about him, but that also has lessened. But I still am very, curious as to what's going on between him and his girlfriend. I still want to know. Like I still have very
The
small
interest.
yeah, but I really feel like I've reached like that zero point in the last couple of weeks, in the last month or so. Like I really feel like, and I've always thought that I was further along in this journey than I was. Does that make sense? Like I was always like, oh, I'm in
Oh
inner
yeah.
union, and I would post about it. I have an account on TikTok. I don't show my face, which I wish I could, because I would definitely want to do coaching. I've always felt that that would be great, but I don't. I feel like I need to stay anonymous because my twin would probably find me within a couple of days, and I just don't think, for me, I don't think it's fair for me to walk around and say I'm a twin flame, because he would know it was really. So for me, but I would love to coach.
But you know
I'd
what's
love to.
interesting? Like, because earlier you said that you have the same decisions at the same time. So I made the decision jointly for my twin to do the social media. I was like, okay, we're gonna do this. And I even
But that's
emailed him.
that's your mission, though. Like that's, Manny, I can't tell you, I think we started posting content around the same time, and I started following you, and I've always thought that, but that's part of what you need to be
Oh,
doing.
I did not think this was what I was supposed to be doing at all. I did not want to be doing it either. I was like, hell no. But
You have helped so many people, and your content is so like spot on. You were saying earlier, like some people post about twin. I had this somehow like radar, like not of twin flame, not somebody I want to follow. Like I just knew. And, like as stories have unfolded over the years, for those of us that have been doing this for a couple of years, you're like, oh, I knew, like I knew that was, you know what I mean? Like we just know. So
yeah, you can smell out the bullshitters, right?
yes.
Um, so how has your twin responded? You've been doing all this work. You were going to say something, and I wanted to quickly ask you about that. So you said if you were in long-term separation, do you think you'd have less chasing energy or less vested interest? You'll have more space. Because I feel like that's what's happened for me. Like I'm really like free and happy. Like I couldn't care less. But I'm wondering if they're coming in and out, that still keeps you kind of like tethered to them a little bit.
It does, because, I was saying this. like we see each other enough that we know how awesome it is to be in each other's presence. And we literally like love each other. And it's the hardest times that we've had is when we've, not been physically together. But I do think it is, everybody's journey's different. But,
Yeah.
like, oh, I wanted to mention about dreams too, because you asked about dreams, like,
Yeah.
and the astral 5D. Like, I don't have a lot of that. I've had 5 or 6 extraordinarily precise prophetic dreams where he's been in them, but I don't dream about him a lot.
It's because you're
Don't,
physically seeing each other. If you're in
yes.
long-term separation, there's another way you have to connect.
Yes. But because
Yeah.
he and I have such a physical, like 3D relationship. Yeah, so I do think it would be easier for me. I think I would have probably, and we needed that 6 month that helped me too. Like I just
Mhm.
needed to focus on myself more. But my life is kind of
You balance
boring.
your energies quite easily. No, not easily, but you learn to balance your energies in each other's presence. Because I know twins, my cousin included, they work with their twins, and it kind of pushes you to get used to each other in a way. It's a different way of healing, I guess. But has he changed? Has your twin changed over the years?
So much. I mean, just tremendously. And I think that's also another big sign of whether you're a twin flame or not. If you're like doing all this work and healing, which whether it's a karmic, a soulmate, whatever, like the solution is all the same, right? Healing, focusing on yourself. So regardless of what label you slap on it. I think people slap on the twin flame label because they think they're going to be in union someday. And I think that keeps them stuck.
It's a control
But
thing, isn't it? It's like, oh, he's my twin flame, so he's always going to be around, and he's chained to me.
no, he has every time I have healed something, I've literally seen it unfold in him. Um,
Is it
he
instant or is there a delay?
he's usually 3 to 6 months behind me. That's
Yeah.
usually the average. And I will literally see it and I'll be like, and I've confirmed with other people too. I'm like, you see that he's completely changed, or like he is a completely different person than he was 4 years ago. Absolutely.
We
Yeah.
change too as well, right? But they change a lot.
They do. They
Like my one's a different human being. I can't believe it.
yeah.
Love
Yeah,
it.
it's beautiful. And I do think that we see through right he knows I see right through him. He knows that, he's like, you're the only woman that I've ever been honest with my entire life, you know.
That
Um,
scares them too, though, doesn't it?
so much.
It's
We're
scary.
scared. We scare
So
them so much.
So what about the spiritual aspects in the sense of ability? Like, I get quite people ask me, oh, Manny, my gifts haven't come online or they have come online. And not everyone's going to be clairvoyant or psychic, everyone's going to be different. But you mentioned that you already had some gifts. Like, do you
Yeah,
want to
and
explain? Yeah.
they came online like right away. Right away after I met him, I started being very clairaudient, definitively 100% clairaudient, definitely clairvoyance, not necessarily like hearing voices, but definitely, seeing things that were going to happen in the future. My claircognizance has like gone off the freaking chart. I will think something and something will appear in the 3D. And it's like almost super instantaneous. Yeah, all of my clairs have came rushing back because they were kind of gone for 20 plus years. But
And
that
does he have them as well?
yes, yes. I
Yeah.
actually said that the other day. He was like, "Oh," I said, "Oh, that's, what did I say to him? It was something." And I was like, "Oh, that's clairvoyance or something."
But they
Or, "Oh,
won't
you're
call it that. They
no,
won't.
then you're channeling." I said, "Oh, you were channeling." And he's like,
No.
"What?" I'm like, he's like, "No." And I'm like, "Oh, yes, you are. Like you are channeling." And
But
he
they
was
don't
like,
like to name it that because it freaks them out. But they do all the stuff we do.
he does. He channels a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And then what about like some people speak to the angels or spirit guides or they see the higher self or anything like that? Does that happen for you?
Not as much. My spirit guides have been a tremendous, tremendous help to me. And I had a very close friend of mine, and he would watch things unfold, and he's like, "Oh my God," he's like, "Your spirit team is literally like emailing, faxing constantly to make all this shit unfold the way that it does." My spirituality is very apparent to everybody that comes into my sphere. And through this journey, I've lost people because of my twin, because of everything that's had happened between him and I. They've come in and trying to interfere and say, they've been very protective of me and say, to my twin, like, you're an asshole and leave her alone. And, like it's caused so much in every aspect of my life. But like also the amount of healing that I've been able to do. And he was with somebody a couple weeks ago. He says, he said lightheartedly, he's like, we're saving lives. And I was like, I know, just because of what we do with recovery and helping people find recovery and get sober is pretty amazing. We literally are helping
And
people.
was he doing anything purposeful before? Because I feel like the divine masculines often, not always though, some of them are purposeful. They get into their true purpose after they meet us and they start loving the fact that they're doing good in the world. They have a mission then, you know.
Yeah, and I don't really know before I met him. I do know when we first met, it happened to be around the same time that he was starting a new meeting, and I know that he started to get much more into service work. But I see it now very clearly. But I don't. It's interesting. I'm sure he did, but his also ability to help other people also came online much more significantly at the same time we met. So.
Go on about this quite often. Not many other coaches do, because a lot of the other content is about, oh, your divine masculine and loving relationship and yeah, yeah, and they just go on about that person. I try to get people off that person and be like, focus on what you're here to do. Because otherwise you just stay in that looping energy and your energy will always chase and be on they're just the carrot to take you where you gotta go, right? And also the stick. But the purpose aspect, how has that helped because I feel like it takes your mind off of them as much and it gets you into doing something action oriented. So how has that helped you on your journey, like doing your mission work and has it given you a new lease of life or new passion to I don't know, help?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I'd always kind of said this, once my children are old enough to go off to college, that I will, get back more involved because I was very focused on raising my two amazing, fabulous, wonderful men. Yeah, so they finally got to that age, but it was like literally like that happened like the instant I left my ex-husband, and literally I was like within a week. Like I was like, oh, okay. Like everything I had always thought for 25 years, like started to happen to be on my purpose and mission. I've always thought it was bigger though. I've always thought that I'm here to help twin flames. I just haven't figured out kind of how to do that. And that's why I kind of reached out to you. I'm like, I need to put a face to my name, or my account and let people know, like, because I wouldn't, you know, I don't know. I wouldn't ask somebody to be my coach unless I kind of saw who they were, or so this is, I don't know. I'm just like,
Interesting, isn't it? Because
I'm
there are
gonna stop hiding.
there are some like accounts on social media where they don't show themselves, which is fine, but then they do offer all these things. For me personally, I couldn't buy into anyone unless I saw who they were.
I wouldn't
But also
either.
I also like to know, are you a twin flame? Are you working towards union? Like I want to know your honest like story as well, because other for me anyway, because otherwise like why should I invest in you, you know?
I agree.
Truly. So
I have had a few people reach out to me directly, and I do, like I am friends with other twin flames, and I've had a couple of people call me. I'm like, I'll just listen to your story. Like, I just want to hear your story. Like, I'm not going to charge you anything. Just want to, because so many divine feminines don't talk about it. They keep it a secret, and I don't know.
I can't imagine.
I just,
But if people do want to reach out to you, are you accepting people either to your social media or email? Like how can people connect
yes.
with you?
Spiritual spaces at outlook.com because I ran out of Gmail addresses. And then I am at tf.journey on TikTok. And I also have a personal account too. So I have two accounts on TikTok, one of which my twin stalks constantly. I know he's watched every single TikTok I put, my personal account where I actually show my face.
So it's
Yeah,
TF at Journey on TikTok, right?
it's at tf.journey on TikTok. Yep.
At TF dot journey.
Yep.
Okay. So do you feel like union is gonna happen no matter what?
Yes. I'm one of those. I knew within the first
You
couple of
know
weeks of
what I
meeting.
mean?
I knew. I always knew. Timing, I was like, I need to know. I need to know. I can't wait. I want to have sex with him again for sure. And I was like you, we've talked about like wanting to control the outcome. And but it was also bigger than that too. I also had to really, because I was like, well, if I'm not going to be with my twin, just send in a soulmate. Like, cool, I'm fine with that. Like, if we're not going to ever be in union, which I do believe we are, but I've always been like super open to that. And then a couple months ago, I just said, you know what? No, like, I don't need to be in any other relationship with any other person. And I also finally got rid of my self-pity and my victim because I played the victim role on this journey for a while too. Got rid of that. Always feeling sorry for myself that, like I'm so fun. Like why have I always struggled with every relationship I've ever had, including my twin? I've got over that. I'm done with that. So
I like it
yeah,
when divine feminines are sassy in their power, a little bit bitchy.
that's me. I'm like, oh hell yeah.
Yeah,
Hell
you
yeah.
should be lucky to be with me. Yeah,
That's right. I do. I feel that way. I'm like, come on. All right.
good.
But I
Because
also feel like the universe like is preventing anybody else from coming in right now. Like the universe is like, no, like just take a break from all of it and everything. I have a soulmate that's lingering around. He refuses to go away, and I do absolutely adore him. So I'm not totally and completely shut out, but
so we didn't talk about kundalini awakening. I had a question yesterday on social media, and there's a difference of opinion with certain people. I call them soulmate universe because that's what they are. And they say, "Oh, you don't need to have that," but that's soulmates in my perspective anyway. But what's your perspective? How you had the awakening? It can be gentle, it can be full blown. It's the
I've had
sacred. Yeah.
both. And I was actually researched the other day about what's the difference between like a kundalini awakening and a kundalini rising. I mean, I've had both, but the kundalini rising is over a long period of time, right? For me, it's definitely been that way. I had to read a lot of books about spirituality. Shirley MacLaine's book on what's it called? Like I had read that in my 20s. I had to reread it again with a totally different perspective. I had to read Journey of Souls. I had to do
So
a
t
lot of
talk about so
yeah.
Kundalini rising. Also like it's like Kundalini like awakening symptoms, and I had the same years before the twin. You'd have the tingling and whatever else, and the heat and whatever. But with the twin, it was like,
Yep.
and
Like
it was violent in a way, and then it was like all the chakras, the life falling apart. So how was it for you?
so my first dark night of the soul, when I was lying on the couch, not wanting to die, but not wanting to exist on this earth, I was drawn to chakra healing. And so that was kind of the first place that I started because I kind of knew that I needed to, even though the Kundalini rising had kind of happened, I still knew that there was a lot of things that I needed to kind of clear up with my
How did you
energies.
know that your Kundalini had risen or awakened? What did you feel or sense or go through?
I mean, I think that was the other thing that I kind of questioned. It was more of just a general like feeling like I was literally rocketed into another dimension, into another timeline. But I did have that feeling of kind of, energies just shooting through your head, if that makes any sense. Just that like
You're
pure
like a
cleanse,
firework. You're like a
like a
firework.
just, yes, just like but I knew that there were still things that I needed to work on and put energy and focus into it. Yeah, my spiritual awakening happened super fast. Um, Again, it was like reigniting everything that had been dormant for so long. Yeah.
But yeah, the ego deaths, the dark nights, the towers, whatever you want to call it, the harrowing, and the DMs go through it too. What advice, lasting advice, would you like to give to people watching? We have DMs watching too as well. So I don't know if you want to give us advice to both, or what advice would you give?
So I would there's a few things that I would say is that one, yes, like it is important to heal the triggers, but you can't force it. You cannot force this journey. You can try. You can, if they are a true twin flame, you can try to walk away or say, I give up. But within 24 to 48 to 72 hours, you will be back in the same place that you were before. So don't force it. You know, I tried to force this journey for so long and I tried to move it further along faster. Enjoy it. It is absolutely the most, and I did not feel this way for 2 years or 2.5 years. It's the biggest gift. This journey is absolutely beautiful and amazing and astounding, and enjoy it. I fought it. I felt so horrible for so long, and I just fought it, and
You know,
then
in the
I
beginning, like I feel like you can't even understand things. Like people would tell me stuff, like coaches or whatever. I wasn't listening. I couldn't listen. I was like, I want him. And this is like a lot of the followers in the newer stages. All they care about is that person and they want to control it. And like you said, you just have to I just say, let what's happening happen. Let it all happen. Be chase if you need to chase, have a meltdown if you need to have a meltdown. What can you do? Eventually you'll tire yourself out.
will. And I say, so many people I talk to on any healing journey is to write. People do not write enough. Writing is, or speaking. I
Healing,
say
yeah.
like get it out. Like, and that requires, it was like, I don't want to write this. Write it down. Write down your story, write down your experiences, write down your feelings. Like, who the fuck cares what you write? Like, just because there's so much insanity that happens in this. And, I am so grateful that I documented, because I was able to write like a 16-page story, very detailed story because I wrote everything that happened to me. I wrote every single synchronicity that happened to me. And there's like pages and pages of the most bizarre stories. Um, so I also suggest writing. I also suggest, finding another twin flame to help you, even if they just become your friend, find a coach, find somebody else to connect with, and you'll find your soul tribe like on this journey. You don't really have a choice. You find them. I had coaches that literally, and I was just talking to her, like she literally, there was a couple times I think she kind of saved my life. So reach out, like don't hold it in. Um,
And that's why I think a lot of people like to be interviewed as well on this channel. Like they want to tell their story, don't they? Because like you said, some of them don't have anywhere else to. It's so much inside. I don't know how the DMs cope with it because they have a lot inside too.
well, and I do think I mean, can you imagine? Ooh, how could you possibly, I mean, as a divine feminine, we are much more open and communicative and you, at least,
Spiritual.
spiritual, like we have a clue as to what's going on. I mean, I didn't know for the free, but like I now understand. I'm like, oh, okay. They really have no idea. They really don't. And
And also
that,
their society, their friends, the people they're around, the work, it's all very matrixy. And those people would not get it.
yeah, yeah. So I just think, trust in the divine timing. That's always been a big thing for me. I've had so many things happen
That's a
in my life.
problem for so many people.
Yeah. Like things would happen to me and I'd be like, what the hell? Like, why'd that happen? Or, oh, whatever. And then I would look back and I was like, oh my God, the universe had to work so hard to align those like 14 things that had to happen to have the perfect outcome. But every 14 thing that I had to happen to me along the way, I was like, what the hell? Like, this is shitty. What the fuck? And then I would be like, and I'd get to the other side and I'd be like, oh, okay, perfect.
Makes
Thanks.
sense. It's almost like you're going through this
Pray a lot
phase
too.
where you're like hyperventilating and you can't breathe. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's okay. I'd
No,
love to continue talking, but I have back-to-back clients today. But
good.
it's been absolutely amazing. So your social media is TikTok at twinflame at tf.journey and your soul, we'll put it in the description, and your email is spiritualspace@outlook.com. It's been such a wonderful conversation.
Thank you. It's so, so wonderful to connect with you. And like I said, you've been just a freaking rock star in my mind. So thank you for everything that you've done too.
Someone made a TikTok video and that how she doesn't connect with other twin flame people, and one of my followers, right? What about Manny? And she's like, no, he's too spiritual. And I was going, I ain't spiritual. My stuff is entertainment. Because it's kind of funny. Like I feel like my stuff is kind of like so weird sometimes.
No, it's and then now your latest stuff has been phenomenally artistic and beautiful, and I read every line. I read
A lot
every
of
line.
a lot of changing. Oh yeah, that's what you say, you know. I do believe like communicating either verbally or some people paint, you know. I like to write, and I just think it's so good to get it all out. Right?
It is important. Yes.
Oh my God, I
Yes.
loved it. I loved you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All right. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Take care.